YouTube, this is BP Baggett. I'm making another video for you to try to help you with your writing endeavors. So I came up with some bullet points for you to consider. Excuse me. So, number one would be research the genre. What I mean by that is you think of what you want to write. You think of what possibly could have happened in the past and other cultures. So, in other words, if you want to write a story about elves and so forth, you want to look back into the myths, like the Nordic myths, the Welsh, the Saxon, the Germanic myths of elves, and you want to see what you can use in those stories. And also, of course, you want to look back to Tolkien and see how he created the story of elves and so forth. So that's what I mean by research. So you want to get a better understanding of what an elf is and what they do and so forth, and then formulate off of that what you want. So in other words, you take the story, change it around, make it something you're thinking of. So during the process of that, you want to make detailed notes, and that's very important. So you might not use the notes, but you will actually notate it. Okay, well, that's where I got that from. That way, in case you have questions, you guys go back to it. So number three is you want to create a world-building notebook to create your world in it, and that's important because when you write it down, that way you have a place to go back to in the book, and it's in one spot. Let me give you an example. So I have several of these. This one is my first one. It's my first world-building notebook. This one has most of my world in it. So in here I put how long they lived, a timeline of events. I put countries in here. I put stories, backstories to the countries in here. I put deities in here and who follows them. I broke down the races that I have in here. So that's something you want to keep in mind. When you go to create a world, you have to have a basis to base your story off of. And it's always good to have a notebook to put it all in instead of having a bunch of scattered paper. So you want to have a good place to put all your story. And number four, I have written down here, is create an outline of the genre world based on the research you have done. So not only do you have to create an outline for your story, you want to create a basic outline of the fantasy world that you're writing in. And what I mean by that is you have to create a chronological idea of what happens to the countries, what happens to the ground. Is there volcanic eruptions? Is there strife in one country? Is there famine in another? So in other words, you want to create what happens in other countries for yourself. The reader might never see that, but you will have that information on a world-building notebook. That way you can always refer back to it. Oh, this is what happened here. This is what happens to that character during that time. That's number five that I have down here. Create and form a story type that fits what you want to write. So what I mean by that is that there's several different story types, and I'll give you a couple examples. There's the lone hero who is an orphan, grew up on a farm, grew up in a monastery, grew up in a city, grew up as a vagabond in the streets. There's the Dark Lord. That's another one of those, I guess you call them tropes or whatnot. There's also the story type of the one savior, the one hero who rises from the bottom, that kind of stuff. So you want to find a story type that will help you create a story of your own. So number six, you want to write an outline of your book. You sit down and think about your story and where it's going to go, what's going to happen to it, what's going to be your themes, what's happening in the world that's going to affect the lives of your characters. And you want to write it all down in a story that drives the reader to want to read more. So, in this book I have, this notebook I have Ivar, Blood and Steel, and the first few pages I have the outline. You want to have the outline of the story where you can quickly flip back to it if you need to. That's why it's good to have it in one notebook and not somewhere else or on a computer, another flash drive. You want to have it in the spot you can quickly reach to it. After you write your story, write your outline. You write your outline, you write the first draft of your story. You always want to go back when you're done. Go back and fact check your story against your world building notebook. Because if you write something in the story and it's not in the world building notebook, it's not gonna make sense because it's not gonna seem original. If it's here first and then in the story to back up what happens in the story, and people ask you a question later, you can always refer back to it and give them a detailed answer. So, number 8. This is kind of like advice to other writers. If you come up with something new or something exciting, you want to make sure you write it down somewhere that's not on a computer or not somewhere where it get lost, like this. Make sure you write the idea, the item, the event, something special, whatever it is. Make sure you put it. My emphasis is put it in a tangible world-building notebook. That's kind of like how I went about building my stories. Is I have them in these book notebooks, and I can always refer back to them and keep my facts straight, keep my story straight, and it's been very helpful. Hopefully, these little points, these little suggestions, help you in your journey in writing. I will hopefully be making more of these videos in the future. I will probably be making three more along the lines of world building. If you have any questions, put a comment in the box, and don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel for more content. And this is Mr. Valandis, BP Baggett. I hope you have a wonderful day.